New bizarre discoveries under the ice of Antarctica. This universe is full of bizarre events that defy human comprehension. One of these unusual things is a surprising new find beneath Antarctica's ice that has transformed the way scientists think. Antarctica is almost entirely covered in ice, less than half of the huge continent is ice-free, and something is happening beneath this vast stretch of ice that shouldn't be possible. Many people do not consider Antarctica a desirable vacation destination, but they might be right given what scientists have discovered there. What has been going on in Antarctica recently? What kind of impact does it have on your daily life? Is there any cause for alarm? Let's find out in this video. It makes them a shock to many to know that Antarctica wasn't always an icy piece of land hundreds of millions of years ago. This massive continent remained unfrozen. It only started freezing about 34 million years ago. Scientists have conducted some research on Antarctica's rich history. They discovered that this continent was just as warm and tropical as the rest of the world. It consisted of many trees and a massive rainforest at some point in time, so what changed? 34 million years ago, a dramatic shift in climate caused the North and South poles to start freezing up. These parts of the Earth became colder and colder at a relatively fast pace, becoming filled with ice in just a few centuries in this present age. These poles are now viewed as ice houses, uninhabitable by many people ever since the shift happened. Scientists across several millennia have been trying to find out what caused this massive climate change to no avail. If we get the answer to this complicated question, we will be able to answer so many more questions about this round ball of rock we call our home. I'm sure you're probably wondering how scientists researched Antarctica back then in that period. Scientists commonly use the study of microfossils in deep sea mud to measure how cold Antarctica was becoming. They were able to understand the current temperature of Antarctica, but they could also use this method to understand its climate change over the years and decades. Today, scientists find out that the oceans warming up at some point was highly responsible for Antarctica's freezing up. As the oceans warmed up, ice sheets appeared on both poles and the Arctic. However, that's not the major cause behind Antarctica's freezing up. Scientists know that they have been trying to figure out the answer ever since. The quest for it has taken them to Africa. Scientists from Cardiff University and Mgalva Curry have arrived in Tanzania and has started drilling that part of the Earth, looking for answers. Their drilling and investigations have discovered scores of ancient mud deposited on the seafloor several million years ago. The Tanzanian cores are very different from other locations because of a large amount of mud and sand were deposited on the land, making for a hard surface containing millions of years worth of answers. In fact, you can even find the microfossils that the scientists back then were so fond of through their research, and they have finally figured out how the sea level fall fits in with the climate shift. These stellar scientists have used the microfossils that were found on this thick layer of mud to formulate ice formation and temperature records throughout the past few million years. They've confirmed that as the oceans cooled down, the end of the Earth started getting a lot colder, causing ice sheets to appear all over. Although they found out what made the ice sheets start forming on the North and South poles, they still need to find out what caused the world to cool down generally, and that's what they did. They started by suspecting a change in CO2 concentration to be behind the cooling down of the Earth. They suspect that CO2 gradually reduced over time, and the Earth orbiting the Sun made it possible for the ice to remain frozen all year long. Sadly, Antarctica has been on the decline for millions of years due to several reasons. One of the main ones is climate change and global warming. Many of these scientists fear that as the oceans and land heat up, the ends of the isle will continue to get warm, as you may expect this will cause Antarctica to defrost itself and unleash the frozen waters on the Earth. Experienced marine biologist and scientist Jonathan P. Clark thinks that this is fast becoming true. For references, he's one of the best marine biologists in the world. This team is one of the best ones around. This set of amazing scientists works on the RV polar stem, which is used to safely get to both the Arctic and Antarctica. It also comes with a powerful drill that allows these scientists to conduct their research easily. The ship also has a drill that can dig up soil up to 90 million years old strata. These layers are so important to keep intact while you drill in order to measure and date the point of origin accurately. Cloggers of his team and are front runners of marine discovery lately, as they have been the first to discover quite a lot of information in water and on Earth. According to the CT scans conducted multiple times, it was discovered that it was the organic matter. To be more precise, these were fossil roots that originated 7 million years ago. As you might expect, this is the closest piece of information anyone has ever gotten to proving the existence of plant life in Antarctica before this. You can only find plants and fossil roots about 1,000 kilometers from the North and South poles. Charger's study could open up doors for even more discoveries being made. Antarctica is mainly a hub of climatologists, oceanographers, and marine biologists. However, the frozen desert also attracts astronomers from across the globe. If you compare the cold, Antarctica is one of the best places on Earth to observe space. This is thanks to its dry climate and the absence of light pollution. Scientists have been able to map these subglacial lakes precisely. The satellite measures the height of the ice surface, which despite its enormous thickness rises or falls as lakes fill or empty under the ice sheet. The lowermost lake went through 4 field drain events during the study period, each taking only about a year to complete. The second lake drained between 2014 and 2015 and filled up again, while the third lake drained just slightly between 2016 and 2017. Meanwhile, the lakes beneath the Academy Glacier drained between 2009 and 2018. All of these changes are puzzle pieces in scientists' understanding of speed and direction of Antarctica's ice sheet flow. Already, researchers are finding the links between the under-ice lakes and the ocean in January. Last year, the study co-authored found that the drainage of one lake on the Amory ice shelf in East Antarctica flushed as much as 198 billion gallons or 750 billion liters into the ocean in only 3 days, as reported by Life Science. While it is fascinating to find lakes buried deep underneath the ice in the Antarctic, one question you might be asking is whether there is life in that lake. The environment is harsh enough on the surface, but life can survive deep into the 2 newly discovered lakes. Expedition leader John Risky, professor of polar ecology at the University of Montana, answers the early studies of water samples taken from the Lake Mercer showed that they contained approximately 10,000 bacterial cells per millimeter. Only about 1% of the million microbial cells per millimeter are typically found in an open ocean. It remains a remarkable find for a sunless body of water buried deep beneath an Antarctic glacier, but that is not the end, because the high levels of bacterial life in the dark and deeply buried lakes are signs that it might support higher life forms, such as microscopic animals like tardigrades. Meanwhile, the abundance of bacterial life in Lake Mercer mirrored the discovery of high levels of bacterial life in Antarctica's nearby subglacial Lake Whillans in 2013 in an expedition the price also led. Scientists theorized that the bacteria in Lake Whillans and possibly Lake Mercer are surviving on deposits of carbon laid down by photosynthesizing organisms between 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, when the buried lakes may have been connected to the open ocean. During their stay on the ice from mid-December last year, the expedition team used drills and hot water to open a borehole from their camp at the frozen surface down to the buried lake of liquid water. Bloodfall is another discovery that you would love to see yourself. One of the best parts about this discovery is that glacier stained with red fluid looking like a massive wound at the glacier. Perhaps the most surprising fact about moving to Antarctica is that the trip is not expensive if you have a flair for adventure. You would definitely love to embark on this life-changing trip. If you need more information about the Bloodfall trip, you're in luck. Bloodfalls were once filled with a massive amount of salt water supplied by a lake. Unfortunately, that lake has been cut off from Bloodfalls due to glaciers that formed at the top of the lake. Now, the remnants of water and Bloodfall have accumulated massive amounts of salt, 3 times more than regular salt water all over the world. As a result of that, water cannot freeze no matter how cold it is. The atmosphere surrounding Bloodfalls also has fewer amounts of oxygen and sunlight than other places. So be careful when exploring and make sure you adhere to the strict instructions by the sea officials to avoid unfavorable situations. Tell us what you think in the comment section below.